I'm Brian Stanton, host of Teaching While Queer, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome, folks, to the Hitech Podcast. These are your hosts doing a dance. We were doing a little dance beforehand, and then I was just like,
we can hear the music live. I can dance to it. This is fun. This is a cool vibe. We don't normally do this in the podcast.
Robin, if you're in the car, Justin, if you're in the car listening to this right now, you missed a cool dance. Go ahead and back to YouTube and watch this.
I mean, anybody, if you're in the car right now, you missed a cool dance. You know, we just know that Robin, when she listens to us occasionally, is in the car driving to work. Which is fine, you know.
That was a shameless but shameful, but whatever. There's a plug. Go subscribe to us on Spotify and YouTube. Yeah. Those things are on screen. We are at the Hitech Podcast. We have been doing this for 3 years now. This is episode 145. We love doing the podcast. The podcast has been growing into fun new directions, right? We were always higher education when we started. Now we're just kind of generally education. Soon enough, we might be more than that. But we need more folks to be involved. Actually, you joked. You have yet to joke.
Oh, I have yet to joke about that. Dang it.
That is a joke for the future.
Hold on. Ignore that. Ignore that new thing.
Reverse it.
Reverse it. New joke. First of all, welcome to Hitech Podcast. My name is Josh. That is Will. We are the co-hosts of the podcast. We did not do our normal spiel, blah, 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 blah. Welcome to the podcast. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, here we go. We've been making some jokes recently about there's some changes coming to the podcast, but we're not telling you what they are. And so for now, I think I'm going to start a thing. And my future self will not know that I have said this yet. But I'm just going to start throwing out random topics that we're changing to. And you're going to see what that looks like. So like I said, I will say cooking in the future. And you're just going to have to figure out where that is. I'm not going to tell you which episode it is, but there's going to be an episode where I say cooking is that option. Today, that option shall be underwater basket weaving. That's our new topic.
That's what the Hitech Podcast is going down under the water.
Yeah, that's where the hot takes are, man.
Wow.
Underwater basket weaving.
We need to land this plane quick.
It's going to be great. Anyway. Who's actually opening this episode? You are. Hey, that's fun. Oh, yeah. Continue then.
Episode will be shortly an interview with Trevor Goertzen at SchoolAI. So we're getting back into some AI tools. We're taking a little break. I like to leave some room to breathe around AI because it's everybody else's everyday topic. But this is a fun conversation. Trevor really shows up. He brings the energy. He brings the opportunity to hear what the platform can do, but also that's kind of creating some imagination of what we could be trying to do with AI in general. And spoiler alert, SchoolAI is doing something I think is distinct in this space right now, where they're giving teachers more control than I've seen. Most tools, it's like, hey, this is an AI tool or whatever. Teacher, use me how I'm designed to be used, right? And this is one of those. There's features like that, but I'm excited for you to hear about how SchoolAI is putting the control back into the teacher's hands to allow you, the instructor, in the K-12 environment or the higher ed environment or other, to set up and use the platform. I think that's one of these biggest selling points is that I got out of this one. I'm excited for you to hear that conversation. So once you've subscribed, once you're following us, then you can continue listening to the rest of this episode, which will be Trevor Goertzen from SchoolAI. Let's turn it over to Trevor. All right, folks, we are here with Trevor Goertzen of SchoolAI. Trevor, how are you doing today?
Man, it's a beautiful day in Kansas City, so I can't complain.
There you go. That means no tornadoes yet, right?
That was last night.
Yeah. If you keep saying it, you're gonna jinx it, man. Like you gotta stop doing that. You know,
man. I've been through enough tornadoes in my life that like it's man.
It's just like a hailstorm, you know, right?
Something like that. Go out on the porch with your camera, man. Can I tell a story? Am I allowed to tell a story?
Please.
I know we haven't even introduced
100%.
ourselves yet.
Yeah,
please.
So it's probably my second or third year teaching. I'm teaching 7th grade language arts in Leawood, Kansas. and we get a tornado siren, middle of the school day. So we go out in the hallway because that's what you do. And I'm like, man, this stinks. So I go in my room and I get a book and I'm like, I'm going to do a read aloud. I read half of the Hatchet to the students while we're in the hallway. My principal is happy that I read a book, but she said, maybe let's not read a book about a young man like plane crash, death, survival next time. You do like a read aloud in a tornado situation. So note to self, it actually became policy for every teacher to have a pre-picked out book, but just not one that involved death and destruction. So that was my, like, when you talk about tornadoes, I instantly take myself back to like 24-year-old Trevor. I had a suit and tie on, and I was, of course, in the hallway with all my 7th graders reading the Hatchets. So,
and this is how people die.
Yes.
But not us. We'll be fine.
Not us. We're good, guys. We're good. Don't worry about it.
It probably put them at ease. They're like, if
could be that
my
bad,
teacher is totally cool with talking about this right now, he must not think we're gonna die. That's
fun.
Yeah,
all good.
That's how I would take it.
So.
Well, thank you for that, Trevor. Frankly, we are warm with you, but you've now warmed the audience up to who you are. Let's pivot in from that, right? So teacher, at 24, you've been in the classroom. You mentioned us before. You were a principal previously. You're now with SchoolAI. So how did you get into it? And pivot off of how'd you get into SchoolAI as to what is it?
Yeah, awesome. So Trevor Goertzen, I'm honored to serve schools with SchoolAI. And before that, I spent 17 years in the classroom as a middle school administrator, a national board teacher. I still teach college, so I'm still a collegiate professor right now. So that's kind of my other side job. I get to teach teachers as well as teach education law, which is a blast to teach. I love teaching ed law. It's a lot of fun.
That's a first.
It's a lot of fun. Well, there's always a story. I have so many stories from my time as a principal to share in those ed law classes. And for all those administrators listening, like every situation in the handbook, you have a story about that situation.
Like why you have to read specific books when you're in the read aloud in the hallway during
there it is. There it is exactly. Yep. No one cares about policy until everyone cares about policy. So we can talk about AI policy here in a little bit too regarding that. But so I teacher, principal, adjunct professor, and again, I still teach. But things were cruising along really well as a principal. I was getting ready to open up a brand new school, had been named the principal of a new building that was being built. But I was actually in DC at an NASSP awards event. I just won a National Principal of the Year award, and I met someone that worked for an esports company. And as we kind of got to know each other at the event, they said, "Hey, do you want to come work for us?" And I'm like, I'm halfway through my career. Let's pivot. Do it. Yeah, let's pivot. Let's do something different. You talk to your kids all the time about like being open to change, have the courage to do something bold. And I'm like, we're going to do it. Like, why not? I'm midway through my career. Let's mix it up. And so I spent a little bit of time working with an outstanding esports team called Generation Esports, helping schools build and create their esports programs. And then at an event, I met the founder of SchoolAI. And as I was learning more about SchoolAI, I was just awestruck, absolutely awestruck at what AI could do for students. I was one of those, I'd call myself a resistor in a lot of ways to AI, thinking, this isn't really that good. I don't know if I want anything to do with it. I definitely had like the whole Terminator kind of in the back of my head, the whole Skynet thing, like it's going to take over the world. But when I saw an example of Kevin using SchoolAI and the feedback it was giving the students and the empowerment it was giving the students, I was like, "Ooh, there's something special here." And then so I joined the team at SchoolAI, and it has absolutely been a rush since then. We're helping schools every single day bring hope to their teachers, bring help to their students. And even within the broader community, people are getting more comfortable recognizing that AI will do what you allow it to do. And when you use a resource like SchoolAI, you can create the experience. You as the teacher you're empowered to build what you want your students to do and what you want your staff to do. We're working with a hospital right now that is training EMTs using SchoolAI spaces. And so it goes so much far beyond just the K-12 environment that we're having people say, hey, I know there's AI, I know there's ChatGPT, but I want to build something very custom. And then I want all that feedback. I want to be able to see what's going on. And SchoolAI offers that to our partners. So that's a super quick version. I'm looking forward to diving a little bit further. And anything y'all want to talk about? AI, tornadoes.
Already caught my attention, though. We'll leave the tornadoes for some other bad joke I won't plan but shouldn't say, but you just mentioned, so like EMTs, great. We're thinking K-12. We found this, we found out about SchoolAI at FETC, which is primarily a K-12 conference. But you're a faculty member, professor. Are you using this with higher education? Are you using this with adult learners?
Yep. So it's an interesting conundrum I have right now. So I have a little bit of a conundrum. Like professionally using my own company within my classroom without it coming across as sales pitchy to the students in the school. So that's my own ethical standard right there that's coming out. Now, I like it. That's just me. I feel like that's, I don't know what, I'm sure there's a term for that. Not nepotism, but I'm sure there's a
conflict of interest.
Conflict. Yeah. It just feels a little like, I'm just not. Now, not to say I'm not, if there's an opportunity to bring it up as, hey, here's a fantastic resource all day long. Yep.
Sure.
But I'll also usually bring up other options as well. I feel like that's taking advantage of a captive audience if I'm to push something. But again, that's just my own ethical standards that I hold to with it. But no doubt we have colleges. I've met with we got a guy right now. He's a professor of chemistry and biology. He uses SchoolAI sidekicks, which are basically custom chatbots to help his students during chemistry labs. So he's built them for his college students during labs. He also builds them and puts them on QR codes. So when his college students are waiting to come to class, they can scan the QR code with their phone, enter a space to do a little review before they come into class. That's at the collegiate level that people are creating custom spaces for these AI experiences, because the conversation with your chat is so rich in SchoolAI that it doesn't matter what level you're at, you can have a valuable experience. You can get that deep conversation. And it's more than just OpenAI, guys. Like it's our engineers. Like our engineers are just flipping amazing at what they're able to do on the prompting end. And so without going to the secret sauce of it all, like there's work that we do. I shouldn't say we, I ain't that smart. But there's work that our engineers do to make it an incredible experience. And so when our users are in those chat, they come back and they're like, I can't believe how well that responded to me. I can't believe how intuitive that chat experience was. And that's our engineering department. That's the work they do to make this more deep learning for schools and students.
Sure. Yeah. Break it down for us a little bit, because I've just heard a couple of, I'm noticing some not acronyms. Dang it.
Nicknames,
spaces,
names, titles.
There we go. Alliteration. That's the A word I was looking for. Alliteration. Is there more than that? So what's in SchoolAI? Is it spaces, sidekicks, others?
Yep. Great question. So if you go to SchoolAI, we like to say it is a pretty comprehensive platform for AI within schools. But even bigger than that, we really talk at SchoolAI that AI is not the thing. It's the thing that gets you to the thing. Just like no tech tool is ever going to be the silver bullet. You still have to have high quality pedagogy, high quality student relationships. But when you take high quality relationships with good teaching and give the tools to the teachers, that's when the sky is the limit with education. And so when you go to SchoolAI, we have an entire what we consider to be like teacher side of what we do. We call those our tools and assistants. And so that's where you have the ability to do lesson planning, BIPs, IEPs, rubric generation, text leveling, those type of resources. I consider those kind of like the S in SAMR. If you guys are familiar with SAMR, That's the substitution. In my opinion, that's kind of that's the base level stuff. That's like your entry point for AI. That's stuff that you could do on OpenAI right now. That's stuff that Copilot can do. It's great. That's not the transformation. That's awesome. Love it. More power to it. We do some things at SchoolAI to make ours even more impactful and even more user-friendly, to allow it to be more than just, hey, I made a cool worksheet. We also have what we call assistants. Assistants are basically your thought partner. And so within your assistants, you'll see, I think, 8 different assistants there. Each assistant has a different purpose. So one of them is how to do field trips. One of them's building new curriculum paths. One of them is on research. So if you're a teacher that's working on a graduate program, you could get help and support a graduate program. If you just need something to like give you ideas, just to be your like second brain as a teacher, we have co-teacher for that. And the beautiful thing with all of our AI, like I said, is yes, we use OpenAI. We use a couple other models as well. We really try to support things in such a way that the responses back are educationally driven, educationally focused. So that's kind of like the teacher side. Then you get to the student side. And that's where the real power is at. And so we've actually been around since 2022. So SchoolAI, we really kicked things off in late 2022. So very much, I mean, right as the AI started kicking off, our founders, they really said, hey, here's an opportunity to really change the way education is done. And education is there. One of our founders was a school teacher for 7+ years. He's been in the classroom, spent some time working outside the education field, came back and said, we're going to build some incredible things for students. And so when you go to the student-facing side, essentially you have the ability to build a space. A space is essentially a chat bot that you custom create. So we have different styles of spaces. We have sidekicks, bell ringers, exit tickets. We have what are considered like world history, test prep, video explorers, Ed Puzzle, watch out, video explorers coming for you. So there's a lot of different versions of chatbots that you can create and build. We have over 9,000 pre-made ones right now. So as a teacher, if you don't know where to start, we have what's called a space for every standard. We launched it last week. You literally can pick your grade level, pick your content, pick the strand within your content. Boom. There's going to be multiple spaces for you right now to use with your students. 9,000 of them. Wow. So there's not a limit of how much you can do. And that's just the pre-created stuff. Right. When you get really creative, that's when you go to create and you start building your own. And so what we find with our users is they start with the pre-created ones, like a conversation with Amelia Earhart. Awesome. Great. A conversation with Frederick Douglass, learning more about ancient Egypt or ancient Greece. Those are all awesome and great. Wow. But then we start having our users and our schools start building their own. When they build their own, that's when it gets super intuitive. Because then you can have a teacher. I'll just use an example. I was an English teacher. If I wanted my students to get feedback on persuasive writing, specific elements of persuasive writing, I can set up my chatbot in that way to give specific feedback on the elements I want them to get feedback on. I deploy that to my students. There's no student logins. So the student joins the space. They read a little bit. You could listen to it. I mean, 154 different languages. It's unbelievable the amount of language options you have there. And then a student submits their work. Boom. 10 seconds later, they're getting very customized feedback for their writing. Wow. Like the reality is it's something that a teacher, like by themselves, it would take a week to give the amount of feedback that's there. And so that's kind of where that super personalization piece comes that our schools love, is because it becomes so as awkward as it is to say intimate for the kid. There's like, oh wow, like this is really helpful. And so you can transpose that to any topic you want, to getting quadratic equations, to chemistry formulas, to social emotional learning. We're seeing a lot of examples of counselors using SchoolAI for social emotional learning. So your limits are your own limits that you as a teacher, and that's part of what our job is to help teach people, hey, here's how you do it. Here's some different strategies, methods to building your spaces and deploying those. Man, that's a lot of me talking. I'm going to stop now. But I got so many stories too. So
No, you're good, man. You're here, Trevor, to talk. So you're good. I'm curious. I want to dig in here for a second. We warned you, we go down any rabbit holes. So I want to dig in a little bit here for a second. So you described a little bit of this, but if you could talk a little bit more, like the custom building stuff, how custom can it really get? Like how, because this is something I'm intrigued by, because I think like Will and I have looked at a lot of these different AI tools. We use different ones for different reasons. Yep. I use a lot of image generation stuff because I suck at drawing. But like there's the real secret sauce, if you will, or things that I've become more interested in, is those who are starting to dig into some stuff of giving a lot more customization to the user. Because right, like ChatGPT is great until like it's like really what I want is something like it can pull from like the information or data I specifically want it to look at, not just anything that exists. That's how we get a lot more hallucinations. That's how we get a lot more craziness. So like for a teacher that's doing this, how custom can they really get? What does that look like for them?
So I'll give you an example of a teacher that was doing, it was like a Macbeth Hamlet type thing. And she actually cut and pasted elements of the writing into the prompt box for it to be generating and reading from. So then the questions she was asking were very specific to the writing from Shakespeare. And so when it was asking questions and responding to questions, it was going straight from the text. So that teacher asked very specific questions that the students were going to answer in relation to their understanding of the text. So the AI then would like draw sections of the text, show it to the students answer questions, and the AI would kind of bounce back and forth, referencing the text that the teacher put in there. Now, you could be as specific as you want. Again, that's an example of a teacher doing things with Shakespeare. I mean, you can do, I forget the amount of text you can embed into it. We're getting ready to release the ability to do PDF uploads into the student space. So you have that option to upload documents to draw from. But if you as a teacher want to say, ask 5 questions, and then this is a specific quiz question to ask, and then show this video, and then listen to this song, and then ask this question, you tell it to do that, and that's the line of thought it's going to go on. So as specific as you want to be as a teacher, that's what the AI is going to do. Now, the caveat I tell everyone is try it first before you give it to kids. like do the preview. We have a preview box at SchoolAI. So do the preview and make sure it's acting like you want it to. So if you want to build a Jeopardy style game, you can build a Jeopardy style game that talks like Bluey, and it's going to talk like Bluey and play a Jeopardy game with the kids on the American Revolution, because that's what you've asked it to do. And so really, to get to your question, Josh, if you want it to do something, tell it to do it and try it. More than likely, with a few tweaks, it's going to be as specific and on target as you want. We have Christian schools or religious schools that want to reference sacred texts, and they'll ask it to only reference those texts. And it does a really good job of only referencing the text that you tell it to reference, nothing outside that. So that's where the specificity of, for example, if I only wanted to reference the Quran, if I only wanted to reference the Bible, if I only wanted to reference You Pick the Book, it'll only reference that because you told it only reference that. And so not only have I used it that way, but I've watched schools use it in similar ways where they say, do this, that's what it draws from, and that's what it does.
Josh, what I'm sensing here is the opportunity for us to finally make Tanks 101 an entire course around tanks and tank structure, tank history, tank science. This is a running gag for us at the Hitech Podcast. We always, when you're talking about like, oh, we should do a class. If we did a class, it'd be like on tanks. We just always say tanks. So
I was like, so you guys are like military tank experts or
no? So here's Trevor. Here's the problem with Will Theory though. In all of your descriptions you gave, the teacher was kind of still an expert on the topic that they were putting into the My School AI thing. Will and I know nothing about tanks. That's why this is a joke.
You fooled me. But here's also the beautiful thing about SchoolAI, and I'm gonna use your joke and say here's what makes it amazing. And you guys know this.
I'm telling you,
it's hard to find teachers. It's hard. And I, even when I was a principal just a year and a half ago, I was covering classrooms constantly throughout the day because people are sick and there's no subs. And so one of the areas that we're actually seeing people use SchoolAI a lot for is continued learning when there's a sub in the room or not a qualified teacher. And I don't say not a qualified as they're not quality people, but they may not be in the right content area, but they're there because they love kids and they need someone in the room. So you don't have to be the expert to create really high quality learning experiences for kids with SchoolAI, because the AI is the expert. You don't have to be the expert. The AI is the expert.
It's so, Josh.
Point being, Will and Josh, you don't have to be a tank expert. You don't. Just reference Fury with Brad Pitt and you'll be just fine.
That's a great movie. Great movie.
Yeah.
That's it.
Trevor, what a gentleman. What a kind guest. He just stuck the landing for me and gave me an out. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yep. Yeah. Hey, I'll do some private coaching with you, Will. We'll build that. We'll build that training course. Okay. You and me, buddy. You and me.
There it is.
Yep.
Oh man, I've been pushed out of the tanks course. Man, this has become a thing.
You just slid right.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Trevor would be better at it anyway. Now I want to shift gears here for a second, Trevor, because I know the other conversation that I think comes up in education a lot for us is we're looking at AI, and I hear this talk. I was just on Monday at a faculty session where we're doing a roundtable about discussing AI, and it always comes up, right? Is like the safety component, and how do we keep students safe in the AI environment we're in? How do we protect them as we're using the technology? I think. And this is nothing new. This has always been a problem we've talked about with technology. Every new technology, I feel like it just kind of comes back up to the top of the conversation because we've got a new thing we don't know. And to a lot of our teachers, AI looks like magic. It just kind of happens. So I'm curious, what on your guys' end, how are you guys handling that situation? How do you respond to that stuff?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Someone said once, and I say this kind of tongue in cheek, so hopefully no one takes it the wrong way. But so what if the AI says the wrong answer? I'm like, what if the teacher gives a wrong answer? Or what if the AI says something inappropriate? I'm like, what do you do when a teacher says something inappropriate? I mean, I know I said and did dumb things in the classroom. We have forgiveness and training and tolerance for that. Can we not do the same thing for AI? And I see that kind of tongue in cheek, but point being, part of our job as educators is to teach kids how to have discernment and how to navigate through those things. So yes, you can put a warning label on AI and say, just no, and maybe inaccurate. Okay, that's fine. A kid's not reading that anyway. But what a kid can do is you can train them to go, wait a minute, that doesn't sound quite right. There's just something that makes me go, wait, pause. Well, that's where you kind of go and you say, okay, let's check some other sources. Let's maybe check other places. Let's ask a classmate. Let's ask my teacher what may be the case there. So that's kind of like my front end piece that's the human side of AI. If it's kind of like if you see something, say something. If you see something that doesn't quite look right, ask. Hold on. Mm-hmm. And that's one of actually the initial use cases teachers will do is they'll have a conversation with Abraham Lincoln and they'll match it right next to their textbook or next to an old school Britannica encyclopedia or something. And they'll be like, how accurate is AI? And just kind of a test run with it. And so that's one of the things that teachers will frequently do when they first introduce it is almost kind of demystify what's taking place there. Now, to answer your question specifically on our SchoolAI end, that's part of our job with OpenAI is to ensure that the content that comes back is safe as much as we can on the prompting end, that we avoid and limit bias that comes in. We create an environment for students that is safe and secure, and so they're not exposed to things that are going to be volatile or dangerous to them. That's our job as a company to do that kind of stuff. I do think that's the responsibility of the EdTech world is to at least be the gatekeeper to shield kids. I'm all for free speech, but the reality is you're in a captive audience in a school setting, and you have a responsibility as a school leader and as an educational company to do the best of your ability to ensure that your information is accurate, correct, and free of anything that's going to be harmful to kids. So yes, we use OpenAI. That information is drawn from it, but then it's our responsibility when we get that back to the kids to disseminate it in a safe, appropriate way. So there's a lot that goes into our privacy and security policies that make us kind of unique as well. And that's things that I definitely dive into when I work with schools and say, hey, let me take you behind the curtain a little bit so you feel safe and confident that your data is your data, that it's not going to be out and used. It's going to be safe. And let me explain to you and show you how we do that to make sure your information is protected. So we go to great lengths. We've done a variety of additional things that I really feel like are above and beyond that I'm quite confident other AI companies are not doing. Maybe they are, but I don't know that they're willing to take the time and the money to do the things we're doing and secure student data.
Well, and you also mentioned earlier, at least for one of those platforms, that the students didn't have a login. Is that true of the entire platform?
Yep. There's no student access. Like the only way a student can get to the AI is when the teacher creates it and deploys it. So like think Kahoot, like when you have a Kahoot login, that's the only way you can get to it. We do embed really well with your Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, Schoology, things of that nature, so you can access it through those LMSs. One of the things that is asked of us a lot is student access. Like schools are, and it's interesting, and you guys know this probably from talking to people, you have those schools that they've been using ChatGPT with their students since like last November. They just said, here we go, like it's wide open. Then you got those schools that denied its existence still. They're like, we've never heard of this before. We're not around. So those schools that are a little more wide open, they're asking us, hey, can students create accounts? Hey, can students create spaces? Can students use these things on their own? And we're not quite there yet. We're not quite there yet as a company. I think the time will come when we feel a little more confident in having those type of safeguards put into place. But for right now, teachers account, teachers build and deploy it. That's the only way they can get to the AI is through the teacher.
That is great, Trevor. I'm going to pause this for a second, man. We just lost Will for a hot second. So just give us 1 second. Okay. Oh, Trevor, I have a question coming out of this, right? So for the student login, so you're saying when an instructor deploys is when they can access, and you're referencing Kahoot. So like the deploying, so obviously you said you can embed it in an LMS. When it's not embedded in an LMS, is it basically like a link they go to, or they can like with a Kahoot, they come to a page, they QR code into it, and they kind of get into that interface? Is that what it looks like?
Exactly. So you can hyperlink it. You can use a phone device, tablet. You also have, it's either a 4 or 5 digit code. So there's also some teachers will basically like have a blank web page that we offer that the kids can just grab that 4 or 5 digit code and enter it in themselves. And it takes them right to that space that they are supposed to be in. So yeah, the opportunities and ways to get to it, there's a variety of ones. Most schools do the hyperlink. That's the most common thing. They embed it within Google Classroom, within maybe other a launch page on their site. Those that work through the LMS, they use the LMS to do it because that also helps with the rostering piece as well. Makes it even more streamlined for a school.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. I dig that. I think there's a place for student credentials and stuff and for tracking, but there's also a place for some of these tools that it's easy to just kind of plug into the tool I'm already tracking student credentials and locking stuff down into. And if I can just link it and embed it into that space, that honestly sometimes makes it easier. I mean, we've dealt how many times with tools where I've got 5 different logins to get them into, and they end up screwing that up.
Only 5.
Yeah, only 5 if we're lucky. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a mess. I'll be curious though, just again, as this AI momentum builds, and I did have someone say that the other day, said, this is the worst it'll ever be. I'm like, yeah, this is the worst it'll ever be. It's only going to get better.
That's very cool.
And so I look forward to what things will look like as the AI gets more sophisticated, as users we get more and more comfortable with trusting the AI and trusting the hands behind the AI, because there's still definitely some skepticism that exists there that I do think will shift the more people use it and the more it becomes commonplace.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very cool.
Well, I'll pivot us into kind of the open exploring question, the idea here of what's upcoming. So SchoolAI is in its spot. It's doing well, probably trying to reach more folks. That's always a good next thing. But is there another big feature coming? Is there another, content area you're trying to deliver? What's new and what's upcoming with SchoolAI?
Man, so the biggest thing is really what we call our space for any standard, and I wouldn't say it's upcoming. It really released this week.
That's right.
And so, and I don't know if I'd mentioned this on air or off air or not, But you have the ability literally to search by your grade level, your content standards, and a strand, and it's instantly going to create a space for you. So there's over 9,000 available spaces within that right there. So I like to tell teachers when I work with them, I said, if you don't know where to start with your standards. Everybody knows their standards, so start there.
And they
So
have to.
yeah, exactly. It's probably on the board somewhere, written up with an "I can" statement or something. Or I will be able to. However, your administrator asks you to do it. But that's really the big thing right now that we're rolling out. There'll be some more things that are coming down the road that I won't share too much of, because one of the things that we really hold on to dearly at SchoolAI is our schools are not our beta testers. I feel like it is, if we're going to be a professional and viewed as professionals, you need to make sure everything you roll out is ready to go. I don't go to a bank website to use their beta product. I don't go to anywhere else and expect to have to pay before I can use their service. I think that's BS, guys. And I'll just be blunt with that. Like, let me know what you're doing, because that's what professionals do. I don't use other professional services and just expect it to not work. So we work really hard that when it's on our site, it works. And we don't go through ways in which our teachers are just going to be the guinea pigs with it. We don't do that. And so I know that's not always the norm right now in AI, but we've taken some extra steps, and we've worked hard. One of the things that people ask me about is like, well, how did I just learn about you? I'm like, well, we intentionally did not go big in the marketing world, because we wanted to make sure we got it right on the engineering world first. Yeah. And so we wanted to ensure that our product was top notch, and now we'll start blowing things up. Because once a school goes to it, and you guys know this in education, like if a teacher uses it and it doesn't work, they don't go back to it. Like all it
one
bad experience, especially with AI.
Yeah,
we ain't doing it. Yeah. We ain't doing it. I think of myself when my principal brought me smart clickers when I was a teacher, and there's in a blue box.
Yep.
It was a disaster. Like, I did it once, the kids hated it. Like, I'm sure it was used by a lot of people really, really well, but I had such a terrible experience. I'm like, I ain't never touching those things again. Not happening. I don't want that for AI, because I think AI can be so powerful, but by golly, it's our responsibility as a business and as a company to, when we roll things out to you, it works, and it works well. That's what you deserve as a school. That's what our kids deserve. So I say that to say, when you see things, it's going to work. It's not just going to be in beta mode. It's not just going to be testing it out. It's going to be fully functional, ready to rock and roll right now for kids and teachers.
Cool. So everything else is in the sandbox still. The standards thing is live because it's vetted. It's good to go.
Yep. If it's there, it's rocking and rolling. It's been tested. It's been used. We've tried to break it. We have partners, we have partners that break things for us. To make sure it all works effectively. But yeah, that's something I'm really proud of. And that's something I really talk to schools about, is that when you go there, if you're going to use one of our tools, it's the right tool. It works. You'll also notice, like, when you go to our tools, teacher tools, we only have 21, 22 tools, because that's what teachers told us they wanted. They didn't want more than that. And they said 21, 22, this is enough. This is all I really need. This is all I want. So we listened to what I need. It's doing what I need. We'd listen to them. That's what we put on there. So we really try to also listen to our users. I mean, they're the ones that drive the experience. So we take a lot of pride in being responsive to our schools, being responsive to our partners.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very awesome. Trevor, just as a reminder for those listening, so I know from looking at your site how you get access to a little bit, but walk us through, for the teacher who wants to jump into SchoolAI, what's their first step? How do they get into it?
Yes, SchoolAI.com. That'd be step one. There it is. I just saw it flash up there. SchoolAI.com. It's going to prompt you to create an account. That is going to get you essentially a free account. And so the free account is going to allow you to do the tools, do the assistance. It's going to allow you to use it with students right now. We don't paywall the tools. Your only paywall piece is going to come on how many sessions or spaces you can launch per day. And that's just because of token cost. As most of our users know, there's a big difference when it comes to token usage and how much tokens cost when you go from token 3.5 to 4 turbo and others. And so we that's why we have a cap to what's being offered within that free version. So a user will see that. You'll see where you get 75 sessions per day. That means you can deploy spaces to 75 of your students per day. But the first thing I would do is honestly go to that standard or space for every standard, pick on your grade level, your content, and explore. Launch a space for yourself and just to see what it's like. Get that student experience so you can go, this is what's going to happen when a student uses SchoolAI. And then the next thing you do is if you kind of look through our site, you'll see what we call like featured creators. These are just teachers who create amazing spaces. And so any of our featured creators are going to have high quality spaces that a teacher can use. We call it remixing. So let's say, Will, you made a really cool space. You shared it with me. I could, you could basically remix it and reuse it and make it your own. So you can modify a few things here and there, and then you can reuse someone else's space. So if you see one that's really good, like, yeah, I like that, remix it, make it your own, deploy it to your students. So that's where I would start. I mean, there's so many cool things you can do, whether it's the conversations, the video explorer, the choose your own adventures. I mean, if there's a historical figure that's not listed, I was talking to school the other day, actually it was in Pennsylvania, and they said, actually, we have a kind of a football coach who's really, really well known, won like 15 state championships. And they said the person's name. I was like, I don't know who that is. I have no idea, because it's like Pennsylvania high school football. But in the area, well known, that person was actually within. So they did a chat with a historical figure. They put that person's name, and they actually had a conversation with that coach. Like there was enough information out there to chat with that high school football coach, which was kind of neat. So those are good kind of entry points as well. And then it's building sidekicks. Sidekicks are individualized tutors. The beautiful thing about that is the language piece is unbelievable. So we do a few different things for the language piece to just be smooth. We use something called 11 Labs that allows us to have a really smooth language piece within it. And so if you have a student who's, one example I love to share, we got schools all over the country doing this. They have a student that's new to their campus who's a non-English speaker. They'll create a sidekick for them in their native language to be basically their assistant and helper throughout the day. That's so awesome. That one, like I have a principal who will embed parts of like their daily handbook, bell schedules, lunch schedules, daily routines, and then teach the student how to use it. So if they have questions throughout the day and they're embarrassed to ask, they're asking their sidekick. And they're getting help and assistance in their native language. So instead of a kid feeling lost and confused and just like, I don't know what to do, they can ask and get help immediately with it.
This is awesome. I love
that's
it.
super
I'm
cool.
Really happy that folks can get in there and get, just like you said, start noodling. Like they have to try it to get that buy-in. So I really love it.
And I love hearing other people using 11 Labs. That's hilarious. We're big showed up every place. Yeah, we're big proponents of it. I just made a pirate voice the other day, so that was a good time.
Oh,
I like to say we use it for more professional applications.
Yeah.
But I won't hold that against you.
It was a professional pirate.
It was a professional pirate, He just,
No, it
he
was not.
Fun time.
Hey, folks, head over to SchoolAI.com, get signed up, give it a shot. And, of course, I'm assuming they can reach out, right? There's got to be a contact us, like get help, get started with folks if they want that extra assistance.
Yep.
We super appreciate you spending the time with us, Trevor, and introducing us and others to the platform. We hope that folks will go give you a shot. Just a moment here, we're going to wrap up. We thank you again for being with us.
Not a problem. Happy to be here. And again, it's about students learning. And we truly believe that AI done right is going to change kids' lives. So be a part of it.
There it is. Thank you.
Thanks. Oh, buddy. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore. That's
too good.
I've been waiting to do that the whole episode. I've been holding on to that one for a while.
It went right over my head.
Genius just happens sometimes. I know all of you listening at home are cracking up. You're laughing like crazy. That was the best joke you've ever heard. It's fine. No, this is super cool. Perhaps Trevor, you couldn't those listening, you couldn't hear this before coming in because we weren't recording at that moment. But Trevor comes in like full energy from the start, which is good. Will and I are on the second recording for the night at this point, so we were we needed a kick of energy, and Trevor brought it.
Trevor was the espresso to our conversation, just like pumped us
exactly.
full of energy.
Pumped us up. But I really, so like full transparency about AI. Will and I have talked about this a couple times. We're getting to this vibe with AI where it's like, okay, cool, chatbots, yay. Like that's I'm just being honest. That's my vibe right now. That's where I'm kind of at. Like, and so what I think is really cool though about SchoolAI is, like he said, they've got a lot of I can appreciate Trevor's attitude when he's talking about all the stuff that generates things for teachers. He's like, that's cool, it's there, but ChatGPT does that anyway. Like he kind of already pushes that off to the side.
Right.
Where their bread and butter really is this idea of eventually being able to like build your own spaces, like create your own environments. You're like, pick up what he's talking about there. Like at one point during the interview, he references like, if you want to make your own Jeopardy game, like you can. Like that's like that type of stuff is really cool. And that's where I think there's a lot of cool stuff that can be done with AI, is how we bring our human creativeness to being able to make something interesting that we couldn't have normally done unless we were like a coder. Like that's something that's really cool, you know, like that's spaces.
I was just seeing memes going around about this moment right now where it's like, yay, we have AI figuring out how to do all the art and writing for us so I can go do my laundry and dishes. Wait a second. I want the AI to figure out the laundry and dishes so I can go do the art and music, right? Like this is I think an example where that is happening. This is taking some of that dreary drudge work out of the teacher's hand so they can focus on the teaching. You know, like the stuff that has to happen in the room, use these tools to leverage for a curriculum side so you can do the art, you can do the teaching experience in the room. I think this is what we need to be doing. This is the opportunity, this is the goal.
And one of the guys that originally came up with AI is quoted in talking about like where he thought the power really of AI was not just open internet access to the AI. It was giving it access to your individual content and data to leverage it to create experiences and do stuff. Now, again, he's not quoted saying those exact words. So if you go look this up on the internet, it's not exactly that, you know, so I'm probably taking his words.
You're paraphrasing.
I'm paraphrasing. Okay. I'm chat GPTing this moment for a second, but give me a hot second. Okay. Like
citation Gandhi.
Yes. Cause this hallucination is hot. Okay. So we're going to come back here for a second. Is that's where some of the power is. And that's where I see a lot of people all excited about being able to generate content off of content in the internet and what we're doing. And while that's interesting and it is definitely applicable in places, like I just have to be honest, like that's where the least of my excitement is. Most of my excitement is about like, man, how can I get a custom bot that I can just plug into my own personal information that nobody else gets, only I get, and I can easily access it. And as a teacher, how could I plug that into just my curriculum I already made for the course and have it help me create things that I can't just create on my own, right? Like that's where I'm really excited about leveraging AI. So SchoolAI's concept about being able to build those things, I think there's a lot of good there. Like even his description about literally being able to take a Shakespeare story and base the information off of the Shakespeare story, right? Like that's super cool. Imagine being able to do that with a student, and whether it's a tutor reminding them of things in the content, or you're able to take that story from Shakespeare and generate an interactive like text-based game off of that. Like that stuff's really cool. And that could get students into the content even in a deeper way, right? And like that's applicable. I know right now their focus is kind of K-12, and Trevor's integrity holds him from using it in his higher ed one right now, but they mentioned that EMTs are already starting to use it in some spaces. And I think in higher ed, there's some room for something like this to be used. I'm really interested in this concept. I think it's really cool.
Before OpenAI, I was at a friend. I was a part of a team where he was making these chatbots for faculty for a course. So it was a small language model, right? He was not doing a large language model. He was not using OpenAI things. I mean, this is 2018, 2019. This is pre-Sam Altman launching this to the world, he was taking things like the syllabus, like some textbook references, like whatever, and he was putting it into the chat bot so the students could ask, like, when is the exam? So it was personalized, but in one sense it was too limited because all it could answer, again, was those pre-programmed answers. That was always the limitation of chatbots before this large language model launch at the end of 2021, 2021, opening this to the world where you could ask it something about Abraham Lincoln, a Mitsubishi Montero, or your favorite Hamilton watch. Like whatever the topic was, OpenAI could answer because it wasn't built to be in a box. It was built to search the internet. This is the moment. SchoolAI is trying to do what OpenAI did for learning.
You could literally do what you were talking about right now, which is you could plug the syllabus into SchoolAI, right? Like the example of like Sean, our friend who did this with his building. You as the teacher, though, could actually do this now. Like Sean was doing that with building and a lot of knowledge. Like that could be done now based on what Trevor's talking about. You could take SchoolAI, plug your syllabus in, and deploy it in a spot in your LMS, and a student could just ask a question about the syllabus, and you would never have to say it's in the syllabus ever again. I mean, probably, well, hold on, it would shift from it's in the syllabus to stop asking me, go ask the bot. Like that's that stuff, if it's applicable, but imagine being able to do it even with full curriculum, or like my class right now, right? Like I was teaching when I taught last semester, I had running notes in one document for the whole class, and we would build it out throughout the class. In theory, I could plug that into SchoolAI and students could ask any question from our notes. Like as they're prepping for tests or they're working on things, if they want to remember what did Professor Swartz say about this thing, like I know that that's possible because my Notion tool that does do that type of thing, Will knows this. I literally asked it last year what I taught on this day, and it told me. So like that's the same concept. So like I think there's a lot of this personal knowledge, like assistant management, tutoring system kind of idea. That's where I think there's a lot of potential. I think a lot of potential is actually kind of taking the bot and putting it in a box, because by itself, it's not great when it's just connected to the whole internet.
It's got too much.
Yeah, the whole hallucination thing is because it's just got too much information. Yeah. Like, have you met the internet? We put a lot of trash on that thing. Like that's like I'm just saying. Like that's kind of, it's like saying you wanted to make a machine that's going to produce food, but you also connected it to all the best food in the world and the trash dump outside the city. And you're surprised when sometimes you say, I want randomly a banana. Picks trash. Yeah, when you say, I want a banana, it gives you a freaking banana peel from the trash can instead of the full banana from the like amazing area that we did. That's what we're doing with AI right now.
That's a great metaphor.
I think there's some potential. I didn't know I had a soapbox about this, but now I do. I created a soapbox. I just built one and I'm standing on it. That's where I'm at right now.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I love it. All that to say, I think this is a really cool tool. Again, go check it out. SchoolAI.com. You can go check out the tool, and there's a free for teachers button immediately. Like Trevor was saying, sign up for that, test it out, play with it. If you're not sure how you want to use it, just try some ideas. Take some of the ideas Will and I just said. If you're in higher ed and some of the standard stuff that Trevor's talking about means nothing to you right now, go play with getting one of those tools, figuring out how to build your own thing in there and plug your syllabus in. I don't know, go play with those ideas. I think there's a lot of cool stuff that could be done with that. And really, at the end of the day, let AI take the crap that we don't want to do so that we can be more human in the classroom. Like that's where AI is. That's the power of AI. And I think we got to figure out how to do that well. We got to figure out what makes us human and what is making us less human, and have AI do that. Let's do that. So I think that's where we can go with it. So there we go. I got a little preachy there at the end. Look at that. Anyway, what is next on the Hitech Podcast? Well, next week we are going to be talking to the one, the only Christy Cloud. That is correct. Christy has been at podcasting in what seems like forever. It's funny that she's become such a friend of the podcast, but she's actually only been on the podcast once. Yeah, I think we've only had Christy on the podcast once.
Amazing.
So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was twice. We gotta look that up again. But
we'll come for your second or third or fourth time, Christy.
We've been talking with her for a long time. When we went to FETC this year, we weren't able to coordinate getting content put together with her, but we listened to her talk and she did a fantastic job. So she is going to come back and give us a little bit of an update on the grant she got about podcasting for teaching. She has some hot takes to give us out of that. I'm very interested to hear. She kind of alluded to this when we saw her in Florida for FETC. So I'm super excited about that episode. So definitely check us out next week as Christy joins us again to talk about podcasting for education and her experiences with a grant that she had as well, and see what we can take away from that. So I'm super excited about that. Just a reminder again, you can find us on the interwebs at Twitter and YouTube at Hitech Podcast. Technically, there are other social media handles, but we just hired a marketing guy, and he'll probably fix this later. But for now, that's what you got. At Hitech Podcast, find us on Twitter, YouTube. Please go. If you're on Twitter, please follow us. If you have YouTube or any other podcast platform that you listen to, please subscribe and follow us. That really helps out the podcast. It really helps us out if you listen to us. We want to know. So come check us out. Subscribe. You'll get updates on all the new stuff coming out, and especially the new exciting things that are about to happen for the Hitech Podcast this year. So you can check that out. Again, you can also email us inbox at hitechpod.us. Just like SchoolAI, just like Christy, just like a ton of other people have been on the podcast, it all started with a small little email to Will. You know, that's where most of it starts. Yeah, just a little digital letter, if you will. That's where it started. So
an electronic mail.
Yes, not snail mail. It was, I don't know what a speedy bug is. Cheetah mail? That's not a bug, but I can go with that. Whatever.
What?
I don't know. Okay. If you want to be on the podcast, you want to let us know something, you want to talk to us, hit us up at inbox at hitechpod.us. We want to hear from you. It's always great to hear from you. Reminder, we also have a website, hitechpod.us. You might be seeing a theme. .us, I don't know. Hitechpod.us. You can check us out on the website. We always put fun stuff up there, fun resources for each episode page. So make sure to check that out when you hear our episodes. Again, it was great. You for joining us another week as we continue to look at what it looks like to harness AI, technology, chatbots, tornadoes, whatever it may be. Whether in the class or in the classroom, whether online or in person. Wow. Thank you for joining us, guys. See ya.